since this is a different kind of Girl Meets World of Terror Part 3, and it's totally different from all the other ones, I just decided to change my hair. Why not? Why do something, different? Or just the fact that it's just hair day and it's time for me to wash it, and it takes half past forever to get everything, every last twist untangled. But anyway, you get something different. Here's my review. Okay, it's just as worse as before, but never mind that. Welcome, guys, to another Girl Meets World review. And honestly, there's a few things I want to get into before I get into this review. There's been a lot of rumors swirling about that there's not even going to be a season 4, let alone having it go to freeform. Even though people have been petitioning it, they actually have already stated exactly what the order was, with this actually being in the middle of the season for Girl Meets World of Terror 3. And then they actually made a listing of it. I'm gonna actually leave the article that I found below. Honestly, in my opinion, there are so many people that really do like this show, and there are so many people that are actually protesting for it to go to freeform so it can be the show that it should be. I mean, especially everyone knows, for those that actually love Girl Meets World, they probably have subscribed to Smurf Vlogs. Smurf is a huge fan of Girl Meets World, and we know he actually started a petition that has a lot of signatures on it. So my advice to you guys, if you are watching this video, go to Smurf's channel and sign his petition. Have your voice heard. This show is amazing, and honestly, I would be really sad if it just completely ended. I hope it does not. But it just looks like it is, and probably, in my opinion, is way too popular than anything that Disney has out right now. That's just my humble opinion. But let's just get into this entire review about the show, and I'm not going to really go into too much details because right now it's just rumor. But when it comes to Girl Meets World of Terror, it is something completely different than all the Girl Meets World of Terrors. It's not corny, it's not cornball, it actually has a plot that's significant. And that's why I loved this Girl Meets World of Terror. Especially the fact that when Augie stated, and this was kind of circulated around the girls, but then it kind of spread on the other people, which, I don't know, I wasn't particularly sure. But when it came to the girls, it was all about what would happen if that one event changed everything else. And they were talking about the chaos theory. If something happens here, let's use Back to the Future as an example, because it's one of the best examples there is. What Marty did in the past affected the future. But in the very end, it doesn't affect the people who are involved in the future. It only affects the person that actually changes in the past. So in this case, they actually were talking about Riley, as well as Riley and Maya, and how they actually met. When Riley and Maya never met because the window was closed, it completely separated them and made them like of course, they never really knew each other, but it made them totally different than who they are. Now, when you think of Maya, yeah, she's a bit on the ruffian side. She's a bit on the rebellious side. But the thing is that with Riley's overly passive nature and overly sugar-coated saccharine type of nature, they kind of blend well together. It's like adding too much sugar in a bowl of tea. But you know what I mean. Adding too much sugar in something will make it a little bit too sweet. Adding too much I guess sweet tea would probably be a best example. If you add too much sugar in sweet tea, it's extraordinarily sweet to the point where your teeth hurt. If you add too much lemon in it, it's going to make it entirely bitter. But if you mix a good combination of both lemon and sugar, it tastes amazing. That's what makes those girls well together. You got the bitter side of Maya and you got the overly saccharine side of Riley, but it's a perfect blend to make those girls destined to be best friends. With that window being closed, Maya never had the opportunity to see hope and actually see the goodness in the world and in people through Riley, and Riley never had a chance to be a little bit more realistic about the world through Maya's eyes. They never had that chance for that blend, hence why they are different. Now, when it comes to Lucas and when it comes to Farkle and Smackle, I don't really understand the chaos theory when it pertains to them. Because if this chaos theory actually changes with just the girls, then it shouldn't really be anything involved with Lucas. Because honestly, when Lucas came in, he was just a guy that didn't really know people. But if you honestly think about it, it took the fact that when Riley actually did sit on the lap of Lucas, as well as Maya introducing herself, and they wouldn't really become friends after that. And they wouldn't be able to learn from each other when they weren't friends because they didn't know each other, and he just became the whole Texas rebel. Now, the one thing that got me is that Zay was not in this episode at all. And the reason why Zay came is because Zay missed his best friend. So when Zay missed his best friend, he came up to be with his best friend, and he wanted to actually tear apart the other girls and everyone else so he could have Lucas to himself. But I guess in a way that when he didn't know how to but the thing is that him and Zay were cool before he even came up there. That's the one thing I didn't get. Zay was actually cool with Lucas and ran with Lucas when he was down there making trouble in Texas before he came up to New York because he was forced to go to New York. Now, being in a whole place that's new, yes, he met the girls and he was able to learn a lot more from them. The triangle, blah, 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 blah. But then I don't know what Smackle and Farkle has something to do with it. But then I'm also thinking again, when it came to it came to Smackle and how she looked, the girls actually did give her a makeover, and she accepted that makeover because she thought she looked better for it. And this point, she was literally a stereotypical nerd. But when I remember Smackle did just wear regular plain clothes, but she wasn't over the top nerd as they had her in that episode. But she did have a makeover, which made herself look better, which introduced herself to different fashions, and introduced herself of being a girl. So in a way, yes, I could see that as an effect. But the over-the-top nerd thing didn't really get it all. When it came to Farkle, yes, Farkle was a freaking robot. I'm not going to lie, he was. But when he actually started to get to know the girls a little bit more, he started accepting a whole different side of himself. So they were able to learn something from one another. But if they never met, then everybody pretty much did the exact same thing. And, and nothing really came from it. They each became their own separate individual and in their own separate world. Now, when it came to Cory not really teaching life through history, he just taught straight history. That I didn't get. What did that have to do with Riley and Maya meeting? Now, that had to go all the way back to Boy Meets World for the fact that he should have never met Sean. And if he never met Sean and got that friendship from Sean, then he would never be able to take things seriously. Well, actually, he didn't really take things seriously as a kid. It actually took him to mature. But actually, it took Mr. Feeney to teach him lessons to actually learn as a kid, which means that Cory never really went to the school that Mr. Feeney actually taught at, and he actually didn't, or maybe he took Mr. Feeney's lessons to heart and just learned from that instead of being his own separate individual and staying in the lines. Okay, now I'm confused. Wait, no, I'm not. I just have a headache. The thing of it is, I don't know what the chaos theory in this aspect of the girls not meeting has anything to do with Cory. Cory had to go all the way back to when he was a kid meeting Mr. Feeney. The only possible way that Cory can actually be that type of person to where he just learns facts is that he literally took Mr. Feeney's words to heart. But even Mr. Feeney had a heart back then. He knew exactly when Cory was working hard and when he wasn't. He wasn't as hard on him as you would think he would be. So that means that either Mr. Feeney had to be a really tough teacher that actually had no heart and was extraordinarily cold for him to be able to teach like that. But the chaos theory really doesn't have any effect on him because honestly, Cory's life has already moved on. He's already in his 30s and he's already teaching. So the chaos theory has nothing to do with him changing his teaching style. And also, the chaos theory had nothing to do with Topanga, but if you think about it this way, Riley was so extremely saccharine and so very naive to life that it literally just completely just made her not want to have another kid. Like, it literally just unsatisfied her. Like, look, I'm not having another kid. I'm not dealing with this. No freaking way. And in the end, and here's the interesting twist, the fact that you had Riley that was over the top saccharine, that was over the top skipping and naive, and just had a best friend that was a bear, literally put a bad taste in Topanga's mouth to where she just did not want to have any more children after that. Riley's behavior literally caused Topanga to say no to any more kids. And when that happened, Augie was not born. That would have been a very interesting twist, but then that's way too far-fetched. That's a little bit reaching there. I'm sorry, it kind of is. The chaos theory does involve people when everyone is connected somehow. The four friends, yes, or five, I guess if you count Smackle. I don't even know how you can count. Well, I guess the five friends in this entire story, Smackle, Farkle, Lucas, Riley, and Maya, it affects them, but it shouldn't affect anybody else around them because everything has already happened. Nothing really changed in their past. The only thing that does change is the fact that you had Topanga that was so disgusted by the overly top Sacker and Riley that she just did not want to have any children. That is the only way that their lives can change in that aspect, but not Cory's personality. But I did find it an interesting twist. Now, as for Zay, I don't necessarily understand how Zay was not involved because Zay and Lucas were already boys before Lucas left. Lucas had to leave. He was forced out. And Zay ran after him, of course, because Zay was in trouble and he did miss his best friend. But they just weren't, it's not that the friendship did break apart. They were cool before he left. So honestly, it would have never affected Zay. Zay should have been there. But honestly, if Zay was there, Zay would have been a straight up womanizer with no heart and no sense of loyalty or morals at all if he was there. It wouldn't affect him being friends with Lucas. They still would be boys. But the thing is that what he learned from the girls was compassion and heart and respect from the girls. Something he lacked extremely the first time he came to the show. So it would have changed him in that way, but not make him completely not there. That's the one thing I didn't get about the whole thing, and I think they just made an excuse just to write him out. That's just me. That's my humble opinion about the whole thing. But the interesting twist was about Augie, and it really was heartbreaking to see that Augie was literally starting to drift out of existence because of the fact that Topanga was like, no more kids. It was heartbreaking for me to see Augie saying goodbye to Topanga, to Ava, and to Dory. And good grief, Dory. I don't like Dory. I never liked Dory. And they just somehow want to write him in. I don't know why. But it was funny how Ava was dating Dory instead of dating Augie because Augie didn't exist. And he literally said goodbye to Ava and to Topanga. And she said, did you say something? I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually kind of sad. It really, really was. But then Dory, I'm like, look, Dory has to be at least 8. Why is he acting like he's 2? That's the one thing that bugs me about Dory. He has to be at least 8 years old if he's in the same grade as Augie. But they treat him like he's 3 or 2 years old. I'm like, who says Dory when they're 8? I'm sorry, they may be kids, but you can evolve. You can evolve, people. But other than that, this was a very interesting episode. I did not like the way it ended, though, with the whole thunder and lightning thing. It just seems like, okay, well, it's getting so interesting, we just don't know how to wrap this up. And they just kind of let's just throw something on the wall and see if it sticks. Huh, okay, that sticks. You know, that's pretty much how I saw the episode end. And that's what bothered me. But the one thing I thought was funny was before the episode actually started was the fact that you had Lucas call Riley Riles, and then that bothered that bothered Maya, and then all of a sudden he called Maya Peaches, and then that bothered Riley, and then he was like, all that matters is our relationship together. And then everybody was like, like seriously, nobody liked them. And that kind of shows what the audience really feels about Rufus. Nobody really likes Rufus being together because Rufus is not a couple. They're just best friends that know each other, but there's really nothing romantic there. It's platonic. But the fact that he called her Peaches, I'm like, okay, he just called Maya Peaches. And the thing of it is that with Maya, and I just saw this on Smurf Vlogs, and I know I've talked a little bit too long here, but I saw this on Smurf Vlogs, and it kind of bothered Smurf when he was talking about how Lucas didn't matter. The thing of it is that when he's like, you think you matter, but you don't. He's talking about Riley. She's talking about Riley. Riley does not understand or comprehend that they're just friends and there's nothing there. Why do you think it's awkward for the fact that they're dating? It's because there's nothing there. When you date somebody for the first time that you literally had head over heels for, you would be excited about dating them. The first date would be, a little bit nervous, but as time goes on, you get to know each other, enjoy each other's company. They have been awkward for years. And it probably has been at least more than a year since they, or at least more than several months since they've been in the class together, and they still feel awkward. It's because there's nothing there. And also, it takes back to the episode of the Ski Lodge Part 2 when they actually did like, okay, how will it be for us being together? And you saw Maya's little dream sequence, and they had a bomb, and then all Josh said, all you have to do is just cut the wire. The wire is Riley. All they have to do is just cut Riley out of it, and they'll be able to explore being in a relationship. Because in my opinion, he likes Maya more than he likes Riley, but they didn't really kind of get together with it. But other than that, it's kind of hard to say right now because we don't even know if it's going to be in season 4. But other than that, I rambled on way too long with far too many theories. Darn chaos theory, now you make my brain work. But other than that, guys, my overall view of this episode is this. It had a very interesting premise, a very good way to start, a very interesting twist, but not a great way to end it. It just seemed like it was kind of forced, that they kind of threw something at a wall to make it stick because they didn't know exactly how to end it, and they're going over time. But other than that, it wasn't a bad episode. I absolutely enjoyed it. I thought it was an interesting twist seeing Augie disappear, as sad as it was, but then it was a kind of over the top personalities of everybody else, which kind of made it a bit weird, but then a bit interesting at the same time. Farkle and Smackle, how they got together was just odd. It just was. I'm sorry. It really was. They're like, okay, we have to find a way to get them together, knock them between each other, have doing this. The thing is that the only thing that's really good with Farkle and Smackle is the fact that they're smart. But Smackle seems like she's occupied with other guys, and honestly, Farkle doesn't really know who he is yet. So I really don't see them staying together. I honestly do see Farkle going with Riley, and I'm hoping that that's the case. But I'm going a little bit too far here. My overall thoughts of the episode is it was good. It just didn't really have a great ending for me. But guys, I want to hear your thoughts. I've talked way too long on this. Leave a comment in the comment section below. This is actually the longest review I've ever had on this channel. But honestly, guys, like I said, leave your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you thought about Girl Meets World of Terror Part 3. Well, Girl Meets World of Terror 3. And if you know a little bit more about the chaos theory than I do, leave it in the comments. I really want to know what you guys think. Naturegirl 30 signing off. Peace out. Later.